Hi, this is Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Tuesday, December 23rd, 2008. Today we have the information that you've all been waiting for. We have the official 2008 nominees for the Golden Duke Awards. Okay, so we're not like the Oscars. We're not going to make you sit through any like dance routines or songs. We're going to get right into it. So first, the first category is for sleaziest campaign ad. And the nominees are Elizabeth Dole for her campaign ad accusing her opponent of consorting with atheists, John McCain for his campaign ad portraying Barack Obama as a pervert who wants to teach sex ed to kids before they learn to read. Next, Sam Graves for his San Francisco Values, quote-unquote, ad attacking Kay Barnes. Next, Saxby Chambliss for his ad portraying his opponent, Jim Martin, as an appeaser of child molesters, notwithstanding the fact that Martin had actually had his own child abducted earlier in his career. Thankfully, the child was retrieved safely and everything was fine, but still pretty sleazy. And finally, Virgil Good for his campaign advertisement portraying opponent Tom Perriello as quote-unquote a New York lawyer and putting his face behind bars. Next, best election season fib. First up, we have Hillary Clinton for that sniper anecdote took place supposedly in Bosnia. Next up, John McCain for saying that the fundamentals of our economy are strong. Next, Mitt Romney. This is, personally, I'm not supposed to say I have favorites, but I think this may be my favorite. Mitt Romney for saying he was bowing out of the presidential race because if he didn't do so, the terrorist would win. And finally, a really strong contender, Sarah Palin for her Bridge to Nowhere fib, saying she killed it when in fact she was a major supporter of it. And actually Palin is nominated twice, first for the Bridge to Nowhere fib, and second, just for her entire campaign, for just basically lying nonstop for like 2 months. Next, we have Outstanding Achievement in Corruption-Based Chutzpah. Now this is much more one of the most nuanced categories. It's always hard to judge because there's a lot of sort of subtle issues that are involved and exactly what it means and so forth. But anyway, we plowed through, and the nominees are, first, Vito Fossella. And he is nominated for possessing the stupidity and chutzpah to have his mistress and the mother of his love child pick him up from the police station after he was arrested for a DWI. Now this, the difference between chutzpah and just being a complete moron sometimes is subtle, but put him down here for chutzpah. Next, we had Edward Nottingham for classic hypocrisy and misconduct from a federal judge. Next, a big crowd favorite, Rob Blagojevich for trying to sell a Senate seat. It's hard to top that. And next, Sarah Palin again, another repeat nominee for her effort to get her a law enforcement officer who was her ex-brother-in-law fired on personal grounds and then lying about it. And finally, Ted Stevens, and this is, Ted Stevens was a major nominee last year for the 2007 Golden Dukes, but he's in this year again because he got convicted. Then, since he was still running and about to have the election, he's convicted, and then a few days later in his home state claims he was not convicted. Now that's, this is not the day of the Pony Express. Information travels quickly, so that's bold and a strong contender from Ted Stevens. Now, next, best scandal, sex, and generalized carnality. Always a popular category. In 2008, I'm not sure you've ever had a list of contenders this strong. Now, first up, we have Eliot Spitzer, who, why do we even have to talk about it? We know what happened with Eliot Spitzer. Next, you may not know, Gregory Smith. He was the Interior Department's Oil and Gas Royalties Division. Now, he managed to sleep with 2 of his subordinates and also bring drugs, cocaine, to a bunch of Interior Department parties. So that's good stuff. Now, next up we have Jim Gibbons, who's the governor of Nevada. And as you know, everything happens in Nevada and nothing ever gets talked about. But a couple years back, he had a sexual assault incident, which seemed to be covered up fairly successfully. This year, he managed to both divorce his wife and have her kicked out of the executive mansion in Nevada, then to have his spokesman deny on the record that he was having an affair with his mistress, and then have it come out that he'd been exchanging hundreds of text messages with the mistress on the government text messaging service. So that's poorly thought out and general sexual misbehavior and just craziness from Jim Gibbons of Nevada. Now, John Edwards, in some ways, has been a favorite of ours here, but there's just no getting around us. Carried on an affair while running for president, while his wife was suffering from a recurrence of breast cancer. And I don't know quite what more you can say about that. Next, Mike Corona, sort of a smaller time figure, sheriff out there in California, carrying on an affair with his secretary in the sheriff's office and also in an official police car. Now, finally in this category, we have outgoing Representative Tim Mahoney of Florida. Now, he's the one who beat Mark Foley back in 2006. He was one with the issues with the congressional pages that led to his departure from congressional service. Now, Mahoney was in for a couple, just one term. It turns out he was cheating on his wife with a local government official, and then also cheating with the local government official with a staffer who is his second mistress. So that altogether, it just didn't go over too well, and now he's also leaving the employment of Congress. Now, the national scandals tend to get the most attention, but there's a lot of crooked politicians and just bizarre behavior down at the local level. So next we have Best Scandal Local Venue. First up, Kansas City Mayor Mark Funkhauser, a strong nominee. Next, a mayor you may know about, Kwame Kilpatrick from Detroit. I mean, this is a guy who could have been nominated in almost every category since his various criminal activities covered sex and monetary corruption. Even some questions of violence back there in the background, but we don't have to get into that. Anyway, Kwame Kilpatrick, strong contender for Best Scandal Local Venue. Next up from Oregon, Bill Sizemore, general lying on federal tax statements, laundering money, lying under oath, a lot of good stuff like that. Next, Diane Wilkerson, a politician from Massachusetts, among other things, caught with $1,000 of bribe money actually in her bra, caught by federal agents, which I don't know how that went down. Might have been interesting. And finally, a New Jersey politician named Stephen Lipsky for public urination onto a crowd at a Grateful Dead show. Now, finally, we come to Best Scandal General Interest. Now, this is the big enchilada we get to at the end. If you're thinking about the Oscars, this would be Best Picture, something like that. Now, as always, got a lot of strong contenders. This year, every nominee was actually also nominated in some other category, with one exception, and that is President Bush, who was nominated for general merit in overseeing the collapse of the economy. Next, Sarah Palin for general scandals, almost too numerous to mention. Next, another contender from Alaska, outgoing Senator Ted Stevens. Rod Blagojevich, again, a really strong contender, although we don't know exactly what all the federal charges are going to be against him. And finally, the final nominee for Best Scandal General Interest is, again, former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. I have to say, I think he may be the strongest contender, possibly my favorite. So those are your nominees. The judges are now actively sifting through all the information about these various cretins, and they will be coming back to us with the results, and we will be announcing the winners of this year's 2008 Golden Duke Awards on December 31st, last day of this year. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.